So I got my new tool to compress the rings to install the pistons back in the block. And last video I had told you guys that this tool did not work. And after I figured out what I was doing wrong, this tool actually does work. I did install 6 of the 8 pistons in the block with the compression tool that I had. So what ended up happening is I mixed the top and bottom ring on the piston, and there's no way you could compress it to make it fit. So that was a big rookie mistake. I know a lot of you guys are gonna be cringing, but in my defense, this was the only thing I got with the rings. So there's no instructions, no nothing. And also, this is my first bottom end that I've ever done. I'm not an expert in the field, and the only way you can learn how to do it properly is by doing it yourself. And hey, if something ends up happening that it blows up, catastrophic failure, I'll fix it up. And I'm gonna be sure to bring you along for the journey, so you won't want to miss it. And just in case I damaged the ring somehow by trying to tap it in with the rings in the wrong place, I did order a new set and installed it on the piston. So here's what I'm doing for my ring orientation. So this dot on top of the piston marks the front of the engine. So my top ring goes on this side of the dot. My bottom ring goes 180 degrees the other side. And my oil expander ring has the little end tabs pointing upwards. Alright, so we're going to install the last piston using my Summit Racing tool. It's for a 4-inch bore, pretty simple to use. Make sure your piston is facing the right direction and that your ring orientation is correct as well. You just want to drop it in, like so. Make sure that the crankshaft is moved out of the way from the rod so that you don't scratch or notch your crankshaft. Wiggle it a bit. Boom, that's it. So all 8 pistons are in. I made sure to lubricate all the bearings with assembly lube. And now I just have to torque the rod bolts, tighten those up, and that'll be it for the bottom end. So now I want to pull off the timing gear on the crank, and I have a 3-jaw puller set up. I'm not sure if it's going to work, so I'm crossing my fingers because I really don't want to go out and buy a new puller just for this. Well, that didn't really go as planned. Try that again. So now that the bottom end is wrapped up, I'm gonna line myself up to do the top end. And I really got set up properly with the help of TIC Performance. They hooked me up with an awesome cam package that includes everything I need to do the install. Their knowledgeable staff helped me pick out a cam that was right for my application. And it's a custom grind, so I'm super excited to see how it's gonna perform. Can't wait to hear how this thing is gonna sound at idle. I think it's gonna chop quite a bit. No scratches or chunks missing, so we're gonna go ahead and throw some assembly lube on this and put it in the engine. Now I want to finish up the headwork, meaning that I want to use some valve grinding compound to make sure that the valves seat correctly. I remember doing this on my 1972 C10 build, and it's a really tedious process. I took off all the old valve stem seals, and I'm going to be installing the Tick Performance seals that were included in the kit. You need to upgrade to this style of seal with dual springs, but it's very simple to do. And when you purchase your kit, make sure you include a valve stem seal install tool. So I've got all the valves in, the valve stem seals, all the springs. So now I just have to do the exact same thing on the other head. Then we'll have to compress the springs with the compression tool to install the retainers. Alright, so now that the valves are in and the valve stem seals, now I just have to put in my springs. I'm holding the valves to make sure it doesn't drop on the ground since it's overlapping the bench here. Take my spring compressor here, place it on the valve. Almost need 3 hands, but I'm gonna make it work. And then I can just compress the valve. There we go. Now I have my titanium retainers. I'm gonna grab a couple of those. Simply slide them on. That's 1. There's 2. I'm just gonna try and line them up a bit more. There we go. That's it. Decompress the tool. So that's 1 valve spring in. You can see the retainers in place. Now I just have to do 7 more to finish up this head. Then we'll have to do the other head as well. So I just cleaned up all the lifters with some brake cleaner. They're spotless. Tick Performance sent me those with my cam package. Alright, so I soaked all my lifters for a little while in some oil. So now I'm going to install them in the trays, and then we'll put them in the block. So the gaskets are in, and now I'm going to be installing the ARP head studs. With all the studs in place, now I'm going to put the washers and nuts on, and I'll torque them up. So I just placed the engine back in the truck, and if you watched my previous video, of course you'll know that the intake, it's going to be a tight squeeze. I know a lot of you guys commented that I should just go with the mid-rise intake and call it good, and to an extent I do agree, but my cam package was designed for the high ram intake, and I also really like the look of the high ram intake, so I think it's going to be worth the little bit of extra work. So I just installed the dash panel back in the truck. I just wanted to make sure that that didn't interfere with anything, and it looks like it's gonna be fine. There's nothing really in the way. And a while back in a previous video, you guys had watched me cut the dash about 1 inch to shorten it a little bit. while keeping the original look. So it's gonna be a little sleeker, give me a little more leg room, but it kind of still looks like it's an original dash. So I think that's gonna be pretty cool. So the engine is covered up. Now I'm gonna go ahead and trim the firewall. Alright, so it is somewhat trimmed, but it is still rubbing a little bit, so I'm gonna have to trim a bit more. So I took the intake off the engine. I'm gonna put the plastic back on and this cardboard, and then I will cut a little bit more, and hopefully this time is the last time I have to cut in the firewall. It's some rough cuts, but now I know the engine fits, and once I take the cab back off, I'll be able to finish it up properly. So my next few steps are installing the timing gear set, the oil pump, and then the covers. And once all those are in place, I'll be able to measure for my push rod length. I actually already paid for them, but TIC holds them until you get to measure, and that way there's no confusion and you don't have to pay shipping twice if you get it wrong. So that's an awesome feature that they have. If you want to see more content of the build, check out the video on the screen. It's an awesome video that you don't want to miss. I appreciate the support. Thanks for watching.